You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV. The voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're watching us, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Women's Day celebration on ABC Amber TV, organized and planned by the Secretary of State for Women's Services. And I'm your humble host today for this special Women's Day celebration, Women's Day talk that we're going to be having on ABC Amber TV. And we are going to be looking at different aspects of women's issues in our society, in our community, and we will talk about um, the women. We'll celebrate women achievement, extraordinary achievement in any field, in our personal lives. And we will talk about women, education for women and girls, especially in our communities in Amazonia and Africa as a whole. And would also talk about the Women's Day, the International Women's Day celebration, looking at the religious aspects of things and the religious significance in relation to International Women's Day. And we would finally conclude on um, rape, how it has impacted lives of many women, and how there is still more awareness, there's still room to create um, a safe place where women can properly talk about these things and get help to recover. So today I have things. So today I have great people who have joined me. I have um, Mape, Dr. Patience Abiedu, that's our Secretary of State for Women's Services. We have our Chief of Staff, Dr. Yaya, and we have our Pastor Victor, who will be giving us the religious perspective of the International Women's Day, and we have Mape, also another Mape, from here, uh, from Europe, who is also joining us on this special talk today as we, talk about issues surrounding women. We will start with the celebrations and we'll continue with other aspects of how we can improve to create equality and equity in our society, including women. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Dr. Victor, Mate, Dr. Abiodo, sorry, Pastor Victor and Dr. Abiodo and Mate for joining. And hopefully, Chief of Staff will reconnect Dr. Yaya. Thank you all. Um,
You're
Dr. Patience
welcome.
Abiodo, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I see. Okay, Dr. Patience. So we would start. I would just, I think I have gave kind of a brief introduction. I will just start with you, Dr. Patience, if you want to introduce yourself and, as the Central State for Women's Services to launch this special program today.
Thank you so much, Lady Casey, for giving me that privilege to be the first speaker today on this special edition of International Women's Day. I just want to thank everyone who's watching us from the home front, from the diaspora, from ground one, and that we know that we're at war. And when we use the word celebrate, it sounds a little bit strange, but life goes on, and we need to bring on uh, important information that can empower our women, that can give our women some encouragement. And without taking much time, I want to probably say that maybe Pastor Victor should be the next person to speak, because he has some religious aspect on this particular topic today. So thank you so much.
Okay, you're very welcome. Pastor Victor, over to you.
Wow. Greetings to everybody. I look like my internet is shaking here, but I hope you're getting me clearly. Greetings to every one of you and to the people of Ambazonia. As we celebrate International Women's Day, I want to open up by saying that I'm privileged to be on this panel because I originally had a program that I was going to be hosting today at 7 p.m. Amber on the Hour of Freedom, which I had to hear to Mape with a guest. And so I begged on Mape if I could say a few words based on what I'd already prepared to speak to encourage the Ambazonian women on this Women's Day. To be candid, we are very proud of our Ambazonian women, and my purpose for today's program is just to stir you up, to encourage you, for you to know that we love you all and the great work you people are doing. And that what you all are doing is not out of the ordinary. Because in Bible days, we had women like you people who stood for their people and fought for their people as you all are fighting. When I listened to the president's speech this morning, when he was applauding the women of Ekona and all the women of Amazonia from all the regions for how firm they have stood to tell the kangaroo government of the Republic that we love our nation and that we as the women of Amazonia cannot be left out when it comes to standing for our freedom. And I just want to encourage every one of you Amazonian women back home that you are doing but the right thing. We have seen you do the job that our fathers used to do. We have seen you in your pain bury your own children, bury your own husbands, bury your own brothers. Some of us watch this with tears in our eyes and just wondering to ourselves, when La Republic government see this and when the world see this, what do they think of this? What are they making of this? That our people will be slaughtered on our streets, and because every male is a target, our women have to bear the brunt of burying their own dead. And so we come today to encourage you, Amazonian women. And if I have one woman I want to just cite you people from the Bible, is the woman Deborah. In Judges chapter 4, verse 4 through 9, the Bible tells us about the woman Deborah, who, because of the condition of his time, when there was no man found to lead an army to fight against the enemy of Israel, the Bible said Deborah was bold enough to stand in the gap. She became the very first woman general that stood in Bible days, fought for the people of God to protect his nation. And I want to say that, Amazonian women, you have been fighting in your own way. And I want to say what? If some of you have been shying away and thinking that, oh, this is just for men, I come to encourage you with the story of Deborah, who stood for her people, who fought for her people. And I want to say that you can become that Amazonian general who will be able to stand firm and tell, like the woman in Kumba, objection, objection, because of your right. And as I know we are not celebrating Amazonia, but we want to honor you people for who you are. A mother, a woman is somebody that the world listens to you people more. And that is why I want to plead with the Amazonian women that, like the women of Ekona did last 2 weeks, anytime your children are arrested or anything happened to your children, come out in your numbers. The world listens to you people more than to the men. Therefore, we urge you, Amazonian women, stand strong. Do that which Deborah did of old and deliver your nation. I know you don't have the privilege and the luxury to go out there and march like all the other women in different countries around the world, but sooner than later, you will be able to march proudly after you've taken your land, and the world will know indeed you fought for your territory. Thank you all so much. I just came to encourage people. I don't know if I had much to say, but I came to encourage people that, like Deborah of old, stand strong and be that Amazonian women that we can be proud of. And I have a couple of women in the Bible that their examples are very glaring and moving to encourage you people. But I don't know if I have enough time, but with time, if I'm still given an opportunity, I will encourage you people and know that you've been through the worst of it all. They've raped you people, they've killed your children, they've done all the evil they have done already. So there is no reason you can give up any time soon again. So it's for you to stand strong, continue the fight to the end until we see a free Amazonia. I may have gone a little bit off from what is the agenda, but I know that the panelists that already prepared this will take us back on track. But I came here today to encourage the Amazonian woman because I had prepared a program which I was going to term the greatness of the Amazonian woman. And so I believe Mape and the rest will throw more light in that which they have prepared for today. God bless you, and see you again if I have the opportunity to say something. If not, I can wave it bye. But God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Victor. Thank you. And that program cannot, it's never too late to do it the whole program next week. I just thought I should mention that. I don't think
Okay.
next week, Wednesday, will be too late to dive into the greatness of the Amazonian woman. On that
Amen.
note, I would like each of the panelists to now say talk about any woman that has inspired them, any woman they want to acknowledge their achievement, or that has inspired them, that they want to celebrate. So I will start with you, Chief of Staff Dr. Yaya, this time, to mention any woman in your life, any woman in history, in past or present, that you want to celebrate or that has inspired you.
Thank you, Lady Casey, Madam Press Secretary. I don't know if you can hear me or see me.
Yes, yes, I can hear you and see you.
Oh, that's really funny because I can't see myself. Anyway,
Yeah, we
greetings,
can hear you clearly
everybody.
and we can see you.
And you look great.
Okay. I try to keep to your colors, okay. It's unfortunate I can't see you people, but I can hear you. Anyway, I want to
Okay.
greet the entire Amazonia and our watchers, those watching on ABC TV. It's a pleasure to be here with you, great panelists. Even though I can't see you, I feel you on this very special day, International Women's Day. So I am sorry I haven't actually done my assignment of doing some research. So Mape, you bear with me. But just to mention, some of the women that have left a mark or have actually left a legacy, and especially of African descent. And I particularly chose this one because we are used to just consuming. We're used to hearing, being fed, and told others' history. And we have not been brought up in the culture of reading about our own history, particularly because we did not also document our history, which is something that maybe with this revolution has been reawakened. And of course, the Women's Department has already written a book, and we're encouraging others to take up this art or hobby, whatever I may call it, to actually write our own history. If not, someone else is going to tell our story. And of course, it's never the same. So permit me, I'll be reading this from the internet because I'm not a historian. It's interesting that Princess, in fact, she was actually a queen, Princess Amina of Zaria. She's a woman talking about the 17th century who ruled actually as a king, as a queen, sorry. And you can imagine at that time in history, and she was a Hausa Muslim, as it's actually written on the internet. Just to read a little bit about her. So she ruled, she was of the ruling class Hausa women. Sorry. So Princess Amina was a Hausa Muslim and a historical figure in the city or the state of Zaria, actually in the north of Nigeria, now called Zaria. Then it was called Zauzau, in what is now, in the northwest region of Nigeria. She might have ruled in the mid 16th century, a controversial figure whose existence has been questioned by some historians. Her real biography has been somewhat obscured by subsequent legends and folk tales. Anyway, I just brought that up because we grow in a world today where we are actually made to think that women can never be leaders. Women always have to be followers. Women have to be second class. And so we're talking about 17th century. This is about, we are now in the 21st century. So 5 or 4 centuries gone now, 400 years. We had women in positions of leadership. And especially being a Muslim woman, with the culture as we seem to perceive it today, that women are particularly put in second position. So we have had great idols or icons in our African history. We have Santua of Ghana, who is of the, I think, the Ashanti tribe. She was also a strong activist. And we have so many more. I just pick some of these examples to encourage us as African women or as Black women to trust ourselves and know that there's nothing new. We talk about princes and princesses. We watch them on TV with all the awe and reverence, very much so. But we don't even know that we had these sort of setups in our communities, and these were great women who actually brought change in their time. So yeah, I'm still reading and teaching myself about them.
Wow, thank you very much, Dr. Yaya. Thank you, Jill Staff, for that. Two great women that you have mentioned that were great leaders. And this is in the past. And there's one very important point you made, that they have always tried to make women believe that their place is following, is followership. They cannot lead. Give so many other, unfounded reasons. And these two examples, especially within our African society, is very telling. And I would, come to you, Mape.
You
Thank
need to
you, Lady
differentiate.
Casey.
No,
It's
I will
which
call you Dr. Patience for today. Sorry, yeah, I need to make a difference. So you are Dr. Patience Abiedu for today. So Mafe, you know, in UK.
Okay, thank you so much, Lady Casey. Greetings to my beautiful sisters, Mape and Mayaya, and to the handsome gentleman, Pastor Victor. And greetings to all women, Amazonian women all over the world, and greetings to our children and our men. We will not leave them out, because on this day of International Women's Day, we know that if we are fighting for equality, it has to be inclusive, and everybody has to play a part, and not only the women. But going to the issue of maybe a famous woman who I think has influenced what I'm doing today. It will be Miriam Makeba from South Africa. This is a woman who died at the age of 74. And we know that she came from South Africa. She was a singer, an actress, and she also was a civil rights activist who campaigned so strongly against apartheid in South Africa. And that was because of the minority white rule in South Africa. So because of her vocal because of the way she was vocal against the apartheid in South Africa, she happened to move to America, and she couldn't go back to Africa because she was blocked and her South African passport withdrawn from her. So she lived in exile for 30 years before she went back to South Africa when Nelson Mandela became the president and encouraged her to come back. So the inspiration I get from her is that she never gave up. Even when she was on exile, she was still vocal about the apartheid, and she actually produced songs in her own way to make sure that she brought to light the evil of apartheid in South Africa. I see myself also like her, because most of us Amazonian women who are out here and standing up for justice or for the right of our people, we find ourselves in exile because we cannot go back home. We will be targets, and by the time we even realize, maybe some of us, we've been virtually sent on exile because we can't go back home. So that is somebody that I think had an impact, a woman in South Africa and in the world at large, because she brought to light the evil of apartheid. And we need to also realize that she didn't give up at all, because when she was silenced, she put it in songs, and it had a real great impact. So that also gives me encouragement as an Amazonian woman, that I should not give up, that we should not give up. We should continue with the struggle in our own small way. We might not realize the impact of our actions on what we do, but in our own way, I'm sure many hands will end up to build a bridge. So it's an encouragement to each one of us Amazonian women not to give up on this our struggle and also on our people. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mafe. That, I just want to pick on the fact that she was on exile for 30 years and never give up. I get this question a lot. Oh, when will we get to Boya? When will we get to Boya? That just, really drove home to me that, like the women's mantra, we are staying the course until our total liberation. And that is just basically what you have summarized in what you've said now about Mariam. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing up such an inspirational character. Mape, you would round up this sector, but I just want Pastor Victor, you've mentioned some great women in the Bible who led the army, who inspired and fought for their people. I just want you to also, talk one more on another, maybe in the past, in the Bible, or any woman that you think we can use in this section, sorry, of the conversation. Just briefly, in a minute, just put any lady that you think you want to use to continue to inspire and motivate our women to continue to resist the oppressor and the annexed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Another woman in the Bible that is of a great inspiration to us and should be to the people of Amazonia is the woman Esther. As you know, the Bible said that Esther came to the throne when the queen Vashti refused to dance before the king when he had audience and had guests. And so the queen refused opened a door for Esther. But we will look at it from the point that it was just, you could think that it was just disobedience that brought Esther to the seat. But the truth about the matter was that before this time, there was already a decree that was given that the Jewish people should be alienated from the face of the earth. And so when this decree was signed by Haman, The Bible says that Mordecai, who was walking at the king's gate, heard this, and when the contest for a new replacement for the king was launched, he decided to ask the daughter, uh, the cousin, because actually it was the uncle, to go and contest. And so when Esther went, the Bible says she won the favor to be chosen by the king to be the one to replace the former queen. And the time came that it was drawing near, the time was drawing near to when the dates were already fixed for the Jewish people to be killed. So Mordecai, the uncle, came to her and said, don't think that you came to this kingdom just for you to have the fancy of it. I think that it is something you have to do to save your brothers and sisters from being killed. And that thing is to go plead their case before the king. And Esther, first of all, complained. I said, my uncle, my dad, I can't go before the king when it's not my day. We are given when to go before the king. And Mordecai said, well, don't think that if we are going to be alienated, you will stay also safe. It will begin with you who is the kingdom, because they will finally know that you are a Jewish girl, and they'll start by killing you. And so when Esther heard those words cut her to her chest. And the Bible says Esther took a decision and said, I will go before the king, even though it's not my time. If I perish, I perish. And now he gave an order to the council and said, let the people fast and pray for me that I may find favor before the king. And dearly beloved, what I want the Amazonian women to draw from this inspiration is that each of us in our various capacities around the world, wherever we are the Esthers of Amazonia. You can approach any government official in any nation. I remember some stage, I think around 2 or 3 years into the revolution, there was a woman that knelt before the Australian ambassador, or rather the Australian president, pleading our case and making a show of the situation. That is what we're talking about, the greatness in the Amazonian women. Any opportunity you have, don't shy away. Use that opportunity to plead our case. Use that opportunity to make the sufferings of their people to be heard or seen, so that the world can turn to us. And so Esther took the challenge to go before the king when it was not her day to meet before the king. And because she risked her life. See, Amazonian women, you have risked already enough. So you cannot be afraid to risk your life anymore. Wherever it will take you to risk your life to save your people, do it for the sake of Christ. So Esther risked her life, and the Bible says she found favor before the king. Instead, the king, because of Esther, sent another decree that whatever decree was sent out to kill the Jewish should be cancelled, and that is how the people were saved. And I want to say this, that we have great women both in home front and around the world. Please don't be shy. There is some power in your hand that most of you don't know. There is some great power in your hand. Know that you are the soft spot of men. You are the soft spot of men. Anything you say, as far as they can see you in tears and see your truthfulness, I bet you governments will listen to you. So like Esther of old, I challenge Amazonian women, emulate from this, and let's save Amazonia and celebrate Great Women's Day when the time comes. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Patience is over to you. But just before you take over the mic, and there's something Pastor Victor mentioned, that she said, if I perish, I perish, and make that decision and took action. And taking
Right.
action this season is what the Amazonian women needs around the world, both at home front and in the diaspora, needs to make the decision and take action. And what Mordecai has said to Esther, that it doesn't mean that because you are in the palace, when they are killing the rest of the Jews, you will be freed. That is for those
Right.
who are feeling like this down thing. When the suffering of the Amazonian people when they are killing, they are not discriminating whether you are a federalist,
Right.
unionist, or it's down a thing, concern you. The suffering is for every
Right.
Southern Cameroonian. The oppression, the annexation, the colonization, the brutality. There are so many people that innocent babies. What have babies done? What have they been? What have they done to La Republica? They have fried babies in oil. They have killed
Mhm.
babies. We have seen. They've killed. We know Ngabu, the story of Ngabu, and this is for us to get up and stand. We know the children they kill in the school in Kumba. We, all these things that have been, they have been killing children who are not involved. When the oppressor, the brutality, the cruelty of the oppressor is meted on our people, they don't pick and choose who is who. It is meted on every Southern Cameroonian, every Ambazonian. And this is, this point I just wanted to make clear that it is our collective responsibility. Thank you. Dr.
Yes.
Patience, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. You want to say something, Dr.
No, carry
Yaya?
on.
Yes,
Sorry.
Mape, if you don't mind. I
Go
was
ahead.
just
Okay.
inspired listening to Mape Akemche as she actually, talked about another great lady. I thought it would be unfair if we didn't mention, another great woman. We have so many of them in recent times. And of course, that is none other than the most powerful Mam Winnie Madikizela. I love her middle name, Mandela. We know, we saw this, growing up on TV, how this woman stood all the odds. She had children, she had young girls, she had two young girls, and she would face the police, facing dogs and arms, and she was fearless because she knew that she had a bigger purpose to not just take care of her own biological children, but also to look after her community. She's such a source of um, inspiration, if I must say, and also being the wife of a powerful man, that didn't stop her from actually also pursuing her own very purpose. And this is one message that I think we need to bring across. We as women, we oftentimes are limited a lot of, and much so by our traditions, our cultures, and we tend to misunderstand I mean, respect from living a life to your life to the full potential, to the fullest potential.
Mhm.
She was a wife,
Yeah.
definitely, but she also had her purpose as an individual, and she pursued that. And we also have other
Yeah.
examples in most recent
Yeah.
times.
Sorry.
Of course, such women
Yes.
have
So,
faced.
yeah. Sorry, Doctor Yaya. That
Sorry,
will
can
be
I?
our next. Yes. So I said that will be the
Okay,
next. That will be our next angle of where we'll be taking this conversation to.
okay, all
So I
right.
just like
Sorry for
sorry to
being.
interrupt you, but you were already, you were
Okay,
already
that's
diving
okay.
into our next level of discussion. But I'll just have my Dr. Patience, just round up this part of it, and then we'll go into the next part, which you already started, and I'll start with you for you to continue. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you so much, Lady Casey. So, Pastor Victor has mentioned about the women in the Bible. My two sisters have talked about mostly the women in Africa that have been so powerful in making some changes. So, I want to just pick up on two women in the United States of America, one a black woman and one a white woman. The black woman we all know about is Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, who was born in 1913 and died in 2005. Rosa Parks is known as the First Lady of Civil Rights. She's also known as the mother of the freedom movement. And the story goes, if you don't know, that on December 1st, 1955, she was in the bus sitting in the section uh, reserved for colored people. And because the section that was for white people was already filled, they asked her to move and sit somewhere else so that a white person could sit in her seat where she had already was already seated. And she refused. She refused. She stood her ground. She knows her self-worth, and she refused. And because of that, there was an outroar, and she was pulled out and brutalized. And she also became part of the Montgomery boycott, and the rest is history. So Rosa Parks is one lady that stands out. She's just like the mothers in uh, that said objection in Bamenda to the colonial terrorists residing in our land. or the mothers in a corner that say we don't know, they stood their ground. They know who they are. They know what is rightfully theirs. So I want to say that Rosa Parks is one of those women that has shown that the women have the right to do certain things. They are strong enough. They have the capability. The other woman I want to talk about is Hillary Clinton. And I want to mention Hillary Clinton for two reasons. Um, when she was still a young lawyer, she had this popular saying that women's rights are human's rights and human rights are women's rights, because she was a fervent fighter for women's rights. But on a different note, we know that she is the first woman to run for president and was the party nominee for president in 2016 for presidential election. And I will feel guilty right here to say this, that when she was running the first time, I worked in her campaign team. I was locally here, of course, in Los Angeles. I went around to Las Vegas asking people to vote for her. And the reason at that time when she was running side by side against Barack Obama, and people were surprised that I was going. And for me, I was saying that men have been presidents for years and years and years in the United States of America. And that I don't care whether you're black or white, I thought that it was time for a woman to be president. So that was the point of view that I had in motion, voting for Hillary Clinton over Obama. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever case you may want to take, Obama won, but Hillary was not given a second chance when she ran against Trump because of reasons that we all know. So those are the two women I just want to talk about. I don't want to take too much time. Thank you, Lady Casey.
Thank you so much, Mafe. Thank you very much. And Dr. Yaya, like I said, I'm coming to you. Now we are taking the conversation into different direction. We know that there have been discrimination, stereotypes, there have been societal limitation placed on women, which some of them you mentioned about that women can be leaders. These different things, and we want to talk about some of this discrimination. And we know there have been some progress recently. There's been a lot of awareness around women. Like the women rights, in most countries of the world, not all have improved with time. Most of the most recent one is gender pay gap and all those different things. So we want to look into some of these discriminations and limitations that society, governments put on women. How far we have come, and what is this? What is equality means to you from a woman's perspective? Thank you.
Is it my turn,
Dr. Yaya?
Lady
Yes,
Casey?
go on.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear
Thank
me?
you. Yes, I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. I can. Carry on.
Okay. Let me see if I can digest the question. What are the
Okay.
limitations women face as part
Mhm.
of, yes, inequality or gender bias? We this is yeah, it's a big topic, but we know that that's a reality. It's we face it every day, and it's not just an African problem. It's not a religious problem. It is a global problem. The different uh, let's say parts of the world may be experiencing a different phase of this, but it is something we see across the board. When we look at world sports, when we look at the world of sports or even entertainment, there is also uh, inequality in terms of how much female athletes earn in comparison to their male counterparts. So you have these at every echelon of the society, so to say. But the one that I really like to emphasize on is that which actually limits the potential of a woman. A woman is actually, or some women have been made to underperform, and they deliberately do that because they want to fit in the perspective of the good woman. And I think that is misinformation, or that is a misunderstanding. Um, and a lot of women, particularly married women, and especially in in some cultures, when you actually live to your best potential, put it that way, it may be seen as threatening, by either your partner, or it might not even be the partner, or by the society. And we have seen great women who have pursued such paths, and they've been met with a lot of difficulties, a lot of criticism. Like Winnie Mandela, of course, she was a powerful woman on her own, regardless of the position of her husband. But we saw that the society wasn't quite ready to have a very strong woman. And I am not claiming to know much about the politics at the time, but she did a lot of great things, but of course wasn't promoted as much as honorable Nelson Mandela. Another recent example is the wife of the late Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. Of course, we know what an iconic figure he was in the history of Ghana, and in the revolutions that he led, almost losing his life, and what has actually made Ghana spring to where they are today. Nana Konedu, as she's called, Nana Konedu Ajeman Rawlings, is a woman, is a very strong woman of her own right. She even ran for presidency. That is interesting. But of course, I think the population didn't quite like that, or it's not so much welcome, because people seem to see it like, oh, this woman is very ambitious. Can she not stay home? Can she not do this? Take care of the kids? But people forget, even when her husband was at the forefront, she of course wasn't at the forefront at the time. She was busy raising their 4 kids, but at the same time, she knew that she was also brought up in a middle class family. She was used to the high rank, so to say, because her father was also quite involved in the politics of Ghana. So we have to give people or women a chance to be what they're meant to be, and they shouldn't be limited because they are married. Of course, you have to find the right balance. You need to have a niche. It is not going to say, I'm poking my husband's eye, I can do this because you're doing that. But no, because you are my husband, you're doing this, doesn't stop me if I have the ambition to do that. Maybe that's just my calling. And she was supportive in her own way, taking care of the kids at the time while the husband was at the forefront. Um, I mean, at his funeral, the kids, they talked about it. They saw their father. They knew that their father was, first of all, for Ghana and then for them. So these women go through a lot of pain and sacrifice that people hardly talk about. But when they spring on the limelight, all people see is, yes, she wants to be like their husband. I think it's really unfair. She was actually carrying the kids on the back, going to the villages, campaigning, not really campaigning, enlightening the women in the villages to be independent, how to sustain themselves by opening up small businesses and things like that. How good is that? She helped to boost the morale of the Ghanaian woman in the village who didn't have the opportunity like those who went to school. And that's something that she did over the years. So it's not like she got up and she wanted to be president from day one. So it's a tough one, but we're saying that in our society, and when I say this, it is not the men just thinking that way, even us, the women, because we've grown to be, to know that this is what is expected of us. we shouldn't live below our expectations. I just think we should be open. And the interesting thing is, let's say the men who actually feel threatened by such women, they have girl children or they have female kids that they send to school, they educate and talk to them about their children. You can see how proud they are. They know that the sky is the limit for these girls. So if you have those aspirations for your daughters, why then can't you give space? Why can't you feel secure in yourself to actually support your wife to do this and become the best daughter of somebody else
Mhm.
and your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big topic. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for that take. Mape Ikenji. Sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'll come
Attempt.
to you. I'm trying to make this distinction today since we have two Mapes on set. Um, so we are on the aspect of women. This is International Women's Day, and this day also, came as a result of the different, stages, the discrimination, the violence against women, so many things that society have relegated women to. So this was coming as an awareness that women are also great. They can contribute economically, they can contribute in technology, they can contribute in science. This was International Women's Day came as a result to create an avenue where women can come out and showcase their ability to build, to that they can contribute in building a society besides homemakers, besides becoming a wife, besides domestic work. So now these limitations and this discrimination that have existed over time, and considering some of the progress we've made. So what is your perspective of the limitation and discrimination that exists towards women in any society you understand, and what is the equality of women to you? What would equality to a woman mean to you? So they said two
Thank
divergent questions.
you. Yeah, thank you, Lady Casey. Thank you so much. Um, to me, equality means inclusiveness, to be included in every aspect of societal life. That's what I understand by equality. So, whether it's economically, politically, socially, a woman should be given the opportunity to be able to achieve the same as a man can achieve in life. We've seen along the years that things have been improving slightly all over the world, but there's still some aspects that need a lot of improvement, particularly when it comes to the contribution of women in the country's economic life and political life. And we see that in some workplaces, there's still a lot of discrimination as far as promotion is concerned. For example, if I were at work today with maybe a male of the same qualification and I apply for a role, they'll probably prefer to give a man that role because, especially for maybe young women, they have reasons not to give her that role. First, she's probably gonna get pregnant. She's gonna go on maternity leave, and it's probably gonna affect the company. While the other side of the coin is that for a man, even if the wife gives birth, he just needs a 2 weeks paternity leave, and he will come back to work and he's okay. So those are some of the things that to me I still think that needs a lot of work for women not to be considered as hindrance in some aspects of life, because giving birth to a child is raising a family, and everyone on earth came through that same route. So instead, a woman should actually be honored more
Mm-hmm.
for being able to work, being able to raise a family, and even given double pay for that, because at home you are not even paid. You are raising children, and then you are still able to go out to work to bring up a family and make them the future of that society or the future of that workplace. So I think that's some of the things that the society still needs to work on. And if I go by well, example, I would tell you about some discrimination because of positions or where the one finds themselves. For example, if you look at Prince Harry here, he's married to Meghan, and Meghan had a career. She was a high flying woman, and when she got married to Prince Harry, she had to follow the royal family way of living, probably going out and doing covering for the royals, but she still had ambitions. She still knew that she wanted to follow the career that she had before. And you can see that she's, well, because her husband stood by her, they are being discriminated against, or they're being looked upon as rebels in the royal family. But to
Mm-hmm.
me, I think all they're doing is probably trying to stand up for their rights and do what they want to do for their own purpose, and not follow maybe custom or tradition. And then we can also see that, I think it's in Afghanistan, where girls have been banned from attending school. I don't know how to describe whether that is not discrimination. And the shocking thing is, we have fathers who have children with ambition who make these laws and
Mhm.
also see their own children sit at home, do nothing, and then they have they can see other parts of the world, how women they're fighting for presidents, and their own girls are there. The fathers should be standing up for their children rather than making laws to hinder them from progressing or getting education that will help them in future. And that Afghanistan needs a lot of people to be educated so they can take over the running of that country in future. Going back home, we will also I will also want to talk about our own young girls, because we see that there's still a lot of discrimination back home, even in our own homeland, because some of the cultures really still down look on girls. I will say, for example, we still have this culture of parents living, not giving their girl children inheritance because they believe that is only the boys who can inherit from their dads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is blatant discrimination because
No.
sorry, because the girl child probably is more educated even than the boy, does a lot more for the family than the boy. But when maybe that unfortunately passes away, the girl child is left out, and the boy will inherit a house or land, and the girl who's probably been doing a lot more for the family is left out. So that's another form of discrimination that I think maybe we should try and enlighten our own people back home, our parents, our grandparents, to think of their girl child as equal to their boy children, especially when they want to think of leaving something behind for them. I wouldn't go too much, but I think I can end there for now.
Thank you so much. You really, I love the way you break down your point, from the different society and the different angles that you break it out. And this is International Women Day talk, and it's creating this level of awareness and understanding of how, some cultures and systems of the world have placed limitations to women, um, to how much they can, contribute to the societal growth in all aspects of society. So, Dr. Patience, I would come to you this point at this stage of the conversation for you to give your own perspective on equality to women and the different limitations and discrimination women have faced throughout the years and are currently facing.
Okay, thank you so much, Lady Casey. I'd like to give some statistics on this matter that has to do with gender equality. But before I do that, I just want to read this little paragraph for people to just keep this in perspective. Imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that is a diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can all embrace equity. Now, to your question, I want to just give this statistics on gender equality. It says that at the current rate of progress, because right now women are really behind in every aspect, socially, culturally, politically, and in every parameter that you measure, we are all behind. They said at the current rate of progress, it may take another 286 years, that's almost three centuries, to remove discriminatory laws and close prevailing gaps in legal protections for women and girls. It says also that globally, more than 1 in every 10 women and girl aged 15 to 49 were subject to sexual and physical violence by an intimate partner in the previous year. In 2021, 4,475 communities made public declarations committing to eliminate female genital mutilations. And women hold over 1/3 of seats in local decision-making bodies. So these are all examples of discrimination against women. And you asked the question that, and that's why International Women's Day is celebrated, because we can track the progress that is being made. When I was talking about the women that I consider women to celebrate, I mentioned Hillary Clinton. And I know, and most people believe that the only reason Hillary Clinton did not win as president of the United States of America is because she's a woman. She's fully qualified, more qualified than Trump, who became president. More qualified than Obama at the time, who became president. The only reason she did not win is because she's a woman. So we are hoping that as the years go by, we, as my sisters have already mentioned, women are daughters of men and women. So we are daughters. So why would you put your daughter in a lower level and your son in a higher level? That's why we bring these topics on International Women's Day, because we're hoping that there will be a time, definitely not in our lifetime, but in some 300 years from now, as they are projecting, where a son and a daughter have the same privileges, have the same rights, are able to do the same things and be recognized for their talent and abilities. And that's what my namesake had already mentioned, that we are working for an inclusive world where if I go and write an examination and my brother writes an examination and we all pass and have 100%, or maybe I have 101% and he has 100%, don't take him over me because I'm a woman. Take me based on my potential, my capabilities, my abilities. And when we go back now talking about things at home, my two sisters mentioned about the discriminatory practices that are practiced in our hometown. I just want to add this little one to it, that in our culture, I know we are at war and some of these things may not seem important now, but these are things that we'll be thinking about when we get our land. In our culture, we have the tendency where when a man passes on, the family members come and confiscate all the properties of the man and even send the woman out of the house. And this happens especially in in the chief cultures, chieftaincies. But you find out that the family members of the husband or the man, they come, take everything that belonged to the family and have the woman thrown out of the compound or sent away. Those are practices that show so much discrimination against us. And as Dr. Yaya said, we are daughters of parents who had us. Why would you want to treat your daughter different? That is a wife, now a wife, so badly. Will you be happy if they treat your own daughter like that? So those are questions we should be asking ourselves. I'll end here for now, Dr. Lynn Casey.
Yeah, thank you so much. Pastor Victor, over to you
Lady Casey, it looks like
to
before Pastor Victor comes, it looks like somebody is trying to talk. Does Paddy want to say something too?
I want to, Dr. Yaya has changed her position probably, and I'm writing she's not saying she's totally on the right side. Can you come on the middle, please? Your image is not looking nice. Look at your phone and put it where it was.
Oh, she cannot see herself.
No, now I can see myself. I've changed. But
okay.
Paddy, just ignore the perfections. Let's just, at least I can see my face. I can see others. They're all looking beautiful. I felt so frustrated just hearing their voices. So
no,
I hope you don't mind.
I want you to shift towards the left.
It's kind of the screen.
Go towards your left. Go towards your left. There you go.
Okay, sorry for distracting us. I have to hold it.
Just leave the phone or the device and move towards your left.
It's a little bit better now.
All right.
Leave it where it is and move towards your left. Don't touch the device. Just move yourself, not the device.
I can't. I'm in a funny, restricted room. That's why I can't really move around.
You're perfect right now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah, Pastor Victor, you've been listening to the ladies give their idea, and we are so honored to have you here. And this is some of the things some of the ladies have said, that our brothers, our fathers, our husbands, and all the men in our lives needs to participate to implement this equality, to see that there is this discrimination and limitation placed on the potentials and abilities of women, or stop existing. And we are so glad to have you here. So what is your own contribution, especially from a man's perspective, who may have a sister, a mother, or have women around?
Thank you, Casey. To be candid, while they were all contributing, I was feeling like, I hope when I come along, it wouldn't be like I'm trying to defend anything. No, I'm not trying to defend anything. I think I'm just trying to concur with the fact that indeed these experiences are seen across the globe and across our nations. And I was thinking to myself, were these things biblically founded, or were they just things that migrated into the society like that? So that is where I've been trying to beat my head around it. But I came to find out that some of these things were from Bible. Like, why the various cultures picked it up, even though in some cultures it's a little bit exaggerated. But let's talk about inheritance. The issue about inheritance is not really that your parents don't value you, that you can earn an inheritance. The only simple reason is that normally when God created the woman, the Bible says the man shall a man shall leave his father and mother and be cleaved to his wife, and the two shall become one. So your father knows that one day you are going to leave home and be cleaved to your husband, and you are now going to generate or build up another in your house place. Because of that, am I still being heard? Because look, my internet is being frozen here. Are you still hearing me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
I, Oh, okay, good. Because I was almost switching to my other computer. Okay, yeah. So because of this, it looked like the women were being discriminated against, but it really wasn't that the women are discriminated against, because also I've seen parents, I've seen homes whereby the parents actually told their daughters, and now you also look at it, look at this again from another perspective, like it's an abuse again, where parents actually told their daughters, we don't want you to get married and leave the compound, because we want that will inherit them. And so how are you going to inherit the compound if you're going to be married and you leave home one day and go to your husband? So I look at that from the perspective of the fact that it wasn't really that our parents don't value us, that we can inherit property, but I think it's just from the perspective of the fact that they know that one day you are going to go, and because of that, it disturbed them to think that the home they have been building and waiting that somebody should take and continue on that foundation is going to be led astray, because by the time you are married and your husband takes you, it is automatically that you have to go start building another home for another man and to leave behind a successor in that home also. So I think that is where this came from. The other part that I feel that women may have been discriminated against, and I think that was lack of education for us, and I think it was lack of finances, was the fact that our parents in those days never encouraged our women to go to school. It was quite I know family that had to really sacrifice the women to go to school so that they can have money to sponsor the boys' children in school. And to be candid, that was I would think that was the ignorance that our parents suffered in those days, that they did not understand that women can even go to school and become much better than men. And three-quarter of the men I see today, if you compare how much help men and women give to their parents, you will even discover that women give more help to their parents than the men at the end of the day. So I think it was a thing of ignorance that women were being discriminated by their own parents, or girls' children were being discriminated by their own parents, not sending them to school in those days. But now, I think in this 21st century, that notion is dying away, and more women are being educated, and more women have a rightful position in their families, and they are breadwinners also. They are breadwinners. You see, this whole issue is a very big thing. It's a big thing, because there are so many things. If you want to go biblically, I want to take this biblically, because it will look like the Bible already discriminated against the women, but it's not a discrimination. The Bible says that the man is the
We're all
head of the
nodding.
house. The Bible says the man is the head of the house, while the woman is, I would say, the neck. I normally preach in my church. I say that if you believe that the man is the head, you don't need to fight with your wife, because the head cannot go anywhere where the neck doesn't go take it. So if the woman is the neck and the man is the head, we obviously know that the head is being controlled by the neck. So the woman should take their rightful place and make sure that they maintain that position of the neck, knowing that the head cannot do anything without the control of the neck. And so it is not really like you are being discriminated against. I just think that is where God wanted you to be. Remember, you are the weaker vessels, and if you look at the woman Eve, the woman Eve, we blame Eve, even though she's one of those greatest women, but we blame Eve because sin came into the world through Eve. And it was because of the fact that it was believed that the serpent or the devil could not go tempt Adam because Adam was more stronger to withstand. And so he went to the weaker vessel called Eve, the woman, and tempted her. And that's how the world is suffering today because of that. So some of these things are just they just generic. They just came from the Bible like that. I don't think, even though in some societies is a little bit more extreme, but I think
Yeah.
it's not really like women should be discriminated against. I am totally like we are in a circle where people are against women preachers, but I don't have a problem against women preachers. I love women preachers. I'm passionate about them, and they do a great job. So for me, when I live in Germany, I saw a different perspective about what women could do. Women drive train, women are pilot, women are everything in Japan. So I just knew that hey, you cannot limit them by abilities because God has given them the same ability to do anything that men do. So I think to some degree we should not overextend it because it's not really a discrimination thing. It is just something that was already there before the world was created. Thank you so much. Let me check my computers. I think I'm frozen now. I really feel that I'm frozen now. If you are hearing me, then that's good, but I'm going to change my computers now. You can take over, Lady Casey. Thank you.
We're hearing
Thank you,
you.
thank you. Thank you. There's just so much to unpack there, but because we are not in any form of a debate or argument, and that is your perspective, and what I actually asked was your view and perspective about the subject of discrimination and the limitations society have placed against women, and what is equality is, and you have no one is refusing the different roles and responsibilities women can have, the different um, part women can play or men plays as well. No one is saying that, but what we are saying is when it comes to equal opportunity, you should not be discriminated because you're a woman. Mape mentioned something that if some for a young girl there are certain jobs will not be granted to them because the employer, for example, will be thinking they are possibly will be pregnant soon and be on maternity leave and all whatnot. And these are the direction in which we are taking this Women's Day conversation, to know that women should not, because of being a woman, your ability, the opportunities should not be taken away from you, given to a man because you are a woman. But if, like Dr. Patience mentioned, she said, if a woman is more qualified, she should not be chosen over a man. She should not be the woman should not be chosen over the woman because it's a woman. And these are things that the society have been facing. These are the different aspects of discrimination against women and limitation society have placed on women that is affecting how much women can contribute to the growth of the communities and the different countries and nations of the world. And it's different, the standards are different for every nation, the standards are different for every community, and the standards are different from every culture. And this is why we are creating awareness that women can be great leaders, women can be great engineers, women can be great innovators, women can be great and creators of different things. And I don't want to go into the aspect where most of the things we use in technology were created by women, but because women did not have a voice, women were in the shadows of men. The men took credit for these inventions and innovations done by women. um, you know, in the early 20th century. So that is another history conversation for another day. We would get into the final part, this final no final two parts of our discussion today. Um, so out. Let me see. I'm just looking at time so we don't take it too long. So we'll talk about women awareness of women education. So far during our conversations, we have thrown more light on our community where our grandparents, some of them prefer to send their men to school, just the boys to school, and they said the women will stay at home. We've talked a bit about this, but now we want to create an awareness. So I just want everyone to take 190 seconds. Sorry, yeah, 1.5 minutes each, so that's 90 seconds. 90 seconds each, just less than 2 minutes each, to talk about why every girl child, why every woman should be educated to the best possible available educational level that they can that any family can afford. Mape, again, I would like to start with you on this one. So, why should every girl child be highly educated?
Thank you again, Lady Casey. Yeah, I think the importance of education for a girl child or for the girls cannot be overemphasized because education, it's knowledge. So knowledge liberates you. For example, if you are a new mother and you don't know how to take care of a child, that child will not survive. If if you are working in any job and you don't have the basic knowledge of how to do that job, even maybe to operate a machine, to drive a car, you won't survive in that society, because there are some areas where maybe if you have to go to work and you don't have a car, you can't you won't be able to work because you have to drive to work. So the education of women is very important in all aspects of life. It doesn't matter where you look at it, because a woman is very important in the family, at work, socially. Even when we talk of socially, if a woman doesn't know how to behave in an environment, if a woman doesn't understand how to approach certain issues in life, they will not be able to survive in that environment. So the education of women is very important because they have a lot to play in society. They have they have to educate. Even the education starts from home. And once a child grows up at home without the basic education, how to socialize, maybe how to behave when you go to school, then that child will probably not even succeed in education. So we realize that education of a woman is the most important gift you can give her, because she'll be able to pass that on to the family that she's bringing up, and she'll be able to cope anywhere in the world. She'll have more confidence, even if it means driving a bus, or maybe you can see women pilot nowadays. But before, those are things that we wasn't common. You never saw a woman flying a plane. Things are changing, as we've been saying all along. Things are changing gradually, but I think there's still a lot for society to do to recognize that a woman is the foundation of a family. And education, once that woman is education, that family is liberated, because the children growing up in that environment will already have the basic knowledge that they need to be able to adapt anywhere in life. I hope that's my 90 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, Dr. Patience, I will come to you to, we want to just quickly run through you have managed a lot of programs that with leading the women services, providing support for women. You have led a lot of different outreaches to our women. And I also want you to, while you talk about the importance of educating women, and maybe draw from your experiences of leading women and reaching out to women in Granwa and home front, and if it's anything related that you believe that in your outreach, in your endeavors, you've have strengthened your views about the importance of educating women. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lady Casey. So before I go deeply into my 1 or 2 minutes on that topic, I just want to remind everyone that the theme for this year is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. And particularly, we're encouraging our women, our girls, to get into the into STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Most women, in fact, when we grew up, we found that in most of the science classes, you had mostly men and fewer women. Uh, for whatever reason, there's no reason to really give behind that because we're just afraid. But you know that as years go by more women are getting into the sciences, into technology, into engineering, and that's a very important thing because these STEM subjects, are very important for human development. Right now, a lot of women less women compared to men in social media. They don't use technology to be connected, and those things are very important for people to be able to live better lives. In terms of the question that you asked me, I did partner with somebody in the refugee camp, uh, the CEO of, should I say CEO? No, he's the person that is in charge of a non-profit organization called Save the Girl Child. His name is Azi. He's doing a great job educating these kids, and every now and then I have an opportunity to reach out to him to see what he's doing. And there's one time that I had an opportunity to speak to the kids and to encourage them that it doesn't matter where they find themselves now, is what they make of the opportunity given to them. And I don't know if you heard the guest that we had before the show today. She emphasized on one thing that I want to also echo here, that we should all develop self-worth. That if you know your self-worth, you know that you have self-worth, you can be anything, no matter the circumstances that you find yourself. Even that person that could be a rape victim that we're going to talk about, you can you are able to go beyond the ills or the harms or the pain that you experience if you get an education to be able to advance yourself. So the department has tried to reach out to these our children, and we hope that if they have opportunities to watch the horizon, they can learn a thing or two to make their lives better, with a goal that one day we have Amazonia we are fighting for, and things will be better for everyone. Thank you, Lady Casey.
Thank you, thank you. And I mean, while you were talking, I just realized that we have two doctors on the panel, which are Amazonian great women. And this is our sexual state for women affairs and our chief of staff, Dr. Yaya. And this is just to say that Amazonia is already very progressive society. And Pastor Victor crowned it all that all the women have should be the esters of our liberation cause. And this is inspiring, and this is where we are as a people, that everyone, you can be whatever you choose to be. Dr. Yaya, I will now come to you. You know, I mean, you I would say that when it comes to science, and you are a medical doctor, and this is the theme for this year is creating awareness for women to go into this science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that we know for many years it was seen as women were for social sciences, for maths, domestic science. I remember um, They will do things like arts, music and arts and ballet, those sort of things. That was what was, seen as something for women. But you are one of those who have ventured into the field that was not commonly known for these days we have female medical doctors. It was not 20 years ago, it was not a common thing to see female medical doctors, but now it's getting really common. So, what do you have to contribute on this aspect, especially from your own personal experience?
Wow, good question. But before I even touch there, I want to say that as a society, we need every walk of life, and so we appreciate every walk of life. Ranging from doctors to mechanics to plumbers to cleaners, because the doctor needs a clean office to be able to work. Pastors preach, so we appreciate everybody, and we are looking and aiming for a country whereby every walk of life is going to be given the due respect that they deserve. I said that,
Absolutely.
yeah, doing the sciences or becoming a medical doctor. I think I just want to go back to your question that you asked and that you fairly gave everybody 90 seconds. Maybe I should start on that.
Mm-hmm.
The role of the woman, the role of educating the woman or the girl child, it is so important. When we even come, we listen to Pastor Victor actually, break it down from a biblical perspective. And Pastor Victor, congratulations, dealing with four women. When you were speaking, we're all kind of giggling, but we kind of understand, kind of not so agree 100% on some things. But this is what you mentioned. You said the woman is the neck that carries the head. And think about it, if the neck is broken, you have a spinal cord injury, or it can't even carry the head cannot
Right.
function. So why not make that neck strong, which is the thing, the foundation that carries the head? That would be the logical thing, isn't it? But we tend to want to make the neck weaker, which ends up making the head weaker. But if you strengthen, I know some necks can become too strong and that they try they challenge the head. But
Because
these are exceptions. Trust me, these are exceptions. So from that perspective, if I know that I am lifting 100 kilogram weight, I need strong muscles to lift them. So I need to build those muscles to become strong in order to sustain the weight. So that was just on a lighter note. But coming now to a community or a societal perspective, the woman is truly the core of the society. As the mother of the house, we all know the roles of our mothers. It doesn't matter how much millions our fathers earned, the person who puts things together and keeps that family together is the mother. Of course, we acknowledge the role of the dad, but this is just a natural role that God made women to actually fill. So I just want us to think about this. When we tend to think that women are not as good or that they are second class citizens, we forget that the strong men of our societies are raised by women. All these big men, the presidents, the pilots, they have mothers. It is the mothers who raise them, most often even as single mothers. So why then is it difficult to see that the woman is so important? So if we invest in actually educating the woman, knowing that the woman plays this role, even from a biblical perspective, being a helper to the man, being a support to the man. If I'm a strong support, then your outcome of whatever you do is also going to be stronger. Now I understand, the issue of ego, and we need to find that balance. I think Lady Casey tried to explain that about role play and stuff like that. You can still play your role, but not be limited to that role. So now coming to different what do I say, professions or walks of life that were kind of a male thing in the past. I think from my personal experience, again, it is my setup, meaning my family. um, I grew up, or we grew up, being taught or being made to believe that the sky is your limit. Nothing should limit you. And I had, um, I think my father, of course, has a very, very strong print in my life. And to him, I was everything I could be. No, I hope my sisters aren't listening to this. They're gonna kill me. What I mean is that he made me believe that I can be everything.
You could do. Yeah.
Whenever I did something, he'll say, "Oh, my daughter, this she'll become a pilot." He said that to me, and next time he'll say, "Oh, you become a lawyer," and then the next time, "Oh, you become a doctor. Oh, you become a minister." He had all of these dreams. I mean, when you are given that opportunity to believe in yourself, I think
Amen.
that's just the core of it. Made to
Amen.
believe that your potentials, the sky can't even limit you. Then you just seem to fly, and you seem to, um, you know, get along in life and face challenges as challenges, because really that's what he taught me. He said, I remember when I was leaving the house to go to university. These were his words: life is tough. You're going to encounter tough times, but when you encounter these tough times, instead of becoming a victim, you can turn those experiences into a spiritual experience of growth.
Yes.
I never forget that. It is
Yes.
26 years since my dad passed on, but I have these words always singing in my head each time I'm faced with a difficulty. So, and that's not to minimize the role of my mother, because she wasn't as educated as my dad, but she was blessed also. She was an orphan child, actually, who was fortunately given the chance to be educated by her elder brother. So, because of that, she could go to school. And we're really blessed that we had a mother who was a working mother. She had 8 of us, but she still went to work. And so she understood the need for education and was also a strong co partner. So, the long and short is that the more we educate women, the more we have a stronger helpers. Because, in as much as I quote these things about my dad, the person I spent most of the time with was my mom, and who would make sure that those values, those disciplinary whatever, were actually instilled in us. So I can't really. I think I'm getting lost. All I can say is parents should um, give every
So the
child a
most
chance,
important.
give every child
Yeah.
an opportunity, and make them believe in themselves. Because Mape hit the word. It is about self worth, how much you value yourself, and that comes from a deep
Yes.
place. It's not something you build overnight. A lot of people think that it is money that you have that makes you have that. No, it is actually the upbringing that you had, the love that you were shown, um, the teachings that were put in your head at a very young age to know that you are a child of this universe and you have the right to be anything. So
Thank you.
Thank
yeah,
you.
let's
Thank
do
you so
that
much,
work.
Dr. Yaya.
Hmm.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
took 4 minutes there. Thank you.
Oh my
Thank
God,
you,
Pastor
Mama.
sorry.
Victor, Pastor Victor, I would like
Shift
to
with
come
next
to you
time.
to just close on this round, then we'll go to
Yes,
our final subject of
Oh dear.
conversation this evening.
Go on.
indeed, indeed. I think Dr. Yaya and Maharaj already put it clearly from there. What are my patients?
My
Because
patience.
yes, my patients. Because what the core thing about education to our women it begins with the family. What does that father believe about her daughter? What does that family believe about their daughters or about their girls' children? That is where the
Mhm.
foundation is. And what we are trying to send out, the message we're trying to send out here is that don't minimize any member of your family, whether a boy or a girl. Give them same equal values, and they will make you proud. You know,
Mhm.
it's ironical that the Bible says a wise woman builded her home. It didn't say a wise man. You know, in Proverbs 14:1, it said a wise woman builded her home. And how do you want that woman to become wise if she's not educated? And so I think I will join my voice to yours to say that education should not be with any discrimination because personally I have benefited from women that went to school. As an orphan, I grew from one house to the other. So I saw great women that I learned from, and that made me to have a more diverse mind. That's why I think my wife is one of the most privileged women because I don't have some of this too much stuff that people put on women. Oh, women cannot do this, or women cannot go here, or women can. No, no. I am very, very, very flexible with my mind when it comes to stuff about women. I don't particularly discriminate against women, especially when it comes to this. So, if the Bible says a wise woman should be at home, I think it means that that woman should go to school, be educated, so that she'll be able to be at home without any problem. Because if she's not educated, she doesn't know how to be at home. That's where the problem comes from. And like what Maya just said, it's the perspective of the family. So we are here to tell each family in Amazonia and around the world, give that value to your daughters as much as you give to your sons. Like I said earlier, two people give birth to a child, a boy and a girl, and they educate them very equally. I assure you that the boy will not give as much help to the parents as the girl will do. Why? Because the girl, first of all, has a soft heart. That her compassion for her mom, for her dad, her compassion with the family. The boy will help, but statistics have shown us that women tend to help their parents more than the men. And so why not educate them, when you are going to have this help from them? So I think that is what I can add to that, and to let us understand that on the other hand, the Bible says in Genesis 2:18, God said it was not good, and it's not good to today for man to be alone. So we need you people. We need you people. Even though I was trying to put it out there, I know we don't need you. We need you people. The Bible says you are going to be
These
the
are
help me.
sweet.
The
Oh
Bible says
dear.
you are going to be the help me. And how do I, if the Bible says I need you as a helper, it means that without you, I will not be able to do the things I'm supposed to do effectively because I needed a helper. And Adam needed a helper. That's why Eve was made. And so if the men could just value the women and know that they have come to help them in their vision, come to build their vision, come to make their vision be realized, there will be no strife in the home. Except exceptional cases like what Maya said, sometimes also the neck wants to become so stronger than the head. We know we have such exceptions in the community. So with those exceptions, we know how the outcome will always be because the men are going to be very resistant to such necks that want to become the head. So, but if the neck maintains its position and the head maintains its position, I bet you the body is going to flow well without a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Pastor Victor. Wow. I mean, this has been such an interesting conversation. I wish we had a part two of it because I feel like there's just so much to talk
I know.
about this, creating awareness around women and different aspects. And this is so broad and we have touched on so many different things. And what we will finally be talking on is not a particularly funny, for example, because society, especially in African, I for one am very keen in our African society. A lot of abuse against women go on, go people get away with it, they go on abusers, they goes unpunished. A lot of women have, because they're seen as the weaker vessel, they are there, uh, they lack protection, family protection, so many things that women have become, you know, been put in such a vulnerable position, especially our Amazonian girls and women who have been raped left and right by La Republic military. And we have seen some videos we have seen. So now we are going to talk about rape and Dr. Patience, I would like to start this with you. Talking about women and rape. Men do get raped, but you say it's Women's Day, and we are going to focus on women
Mm,
because it is I would say a pandemic. Um, and a lot of women, there's another aspect of women and rape where women who get raped, who get you know, physically abused, never come up to talk about it. because of also African society, the stigma around talking about rape. So there's just so much to talk about it, and I would like Dr. Patience to delve into this and give us your view and your perspective and how we can create a safe space for women to heal, get therapy. I mean, there's just so many aspects. So you take it how how you choose this evening.
Okay, Lady Casey. So it looks like the technician Paddy wanted to make a comment before I continue. I don't know if he's hearing us on something
Yes,
else.
can you hear me?
Make it brief, or if you want to make a comment before I continue.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. The program is very, very educative. I just, as I'm following, I thought perhaps I could just chip in also for the 90 seconds. I pray that the host doesn't frown at me if I exceed that 90 seconds. A lot of education has come through this program. It's important that on a day like this, we're using it also to educate the girl child and the boy child, in fact, our society, for us to make progress. But I always want to talk from a Christian perspective because I am Christian and I cannot really separate my rhetoric from that belief. It is totally wrong for a man to disrespect a woman and maltreat a woman at any level because of what or who she is. That was not even the way God made it. It was because of man's own interpretation, man's own carnality, if I would say, and misunderstanding with culture and ego. And then you find out that women, even in Bible days, were some of them were victims of abuse. But there is a slight mistake that modernity and those who are teaching equality are making. The difference between what we call order, the role. The Bible even tells us that God has created physical things to help us understand spiritual things. The woman is a woman and a man is a man. Where those who are teaching feminists and those who are teaching equality are making an error is to be able to help to train a woman understand her role in the society. There's a role of a woman in the society. Where this is misunderstood, you find women that want to become men and men who want to become women. And a lot of strange things are happening in our society of today. You agree with me that a man cannot get pregnant and should not get pregnant. But science today is trying, these are some little bits of this whole aspect of equality that's a big problem. But when it comes to treating, and like Kemche said, there is no reason why a woman should not have inheritance. There's no reason why a woman should not lead a family at a particular time. But when it comes to role in society, the role of a woman and the role of a man can never ever be the same. If we continue to teach the society, we might build a society that's more of a film, not a reality, because God didn't make it so. If you notice, in science, you agree with me with the two doctors that are here, that it's only in exceptional circumstances that you have a woman is having a deep voice and is being muscular. Science will even call that genetic mutation, which means the situations are not ordinary. If you notice, God has made a man more muscular because of the kind of activity which men have used negatively. A man is supposed to be that person to protect, and a woman must not be trained to feel bad that she's being protected. It is wrong for a man to use his manhood to suppress, oppress, or maltreat a woman. And I conclude on this point. Dr. Patience, you said something about the reason why Clinton didn't win Obama is because she's a woman. I beg to disagree with that because Obama in that same election defeated two very strong people that were very competent. McCain, Hillary Clinton and McCain, the both of them had more experience to win that election than Obama. But why did Obama win? People wanted something new. People wanted somebody younger. People wanted somebody that was youthful. And Obama, from his days as a senator, mobilized the youths during that election better than all the candidates. It was a very close election, and then he won. Maybe for the Trump case and you may be right that the election was rigged with Chinese and Russians, which a lot of people are having that concern. But Obama's case, women voted him more than they voted Hillary Clinton. Thank you very much. That notwithstanding, I want to congratulate and say happy Women's Day to all the women, especially from my mother who is not even alive, all the women in the interim government particularly who are fighting. We have other women there that are not fighting for us. I just saw Bobala posted certain women trying to do for peace. And I wrote to him and I'm like, advise this your women folk to advocate for justice and peace to be a natural thing. So you are all very exceptional women for being a part of this great cause. You can lead the cause. There's nobody that should stop you from leading at any time, from being a part of this cause to make sure that we have a free homeland. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Bobby. Thanks for your contribution. And yes, so we don't make the program so long, and we would like to quickly Mape continue to talk on our last point of discussion, which is around women and rape. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Paddy, you and I will continue that discussion one-on-one later on. So on the topic of rape, it's a very painful subject. And I want to approach it with respect to four different aspects. The rape that takes place at the home, where family members are aware that their young daughters are being raped and they are quiet about it. The rape that takes place in the community or at school, the rape that takes place at workplaces, and then the rape now that is a crime of war, where La Republic soldiers are intentionally raping our young girls, our women, sometimes in front of other family members. The question is, if you ask some of these men that commit some of these crimes, they have daughters. They have daughters. And if you ask them, if somebody were to commit such an act on their daughter, what would they do? I think the initial reaction is that I will kill that person. You will kill that person. I have my daughter and somebody rapes my daughter and I have the means. My first reaction will be, I want to kill that person. Maybe God will prevent me from killing because killing is a crime. But that would be my first reaction. The rape that is happening in homes and family members are covering a blanket over it is something that we should be aware of. You have some families where the man is so powerful that he commits this crime through different generations and gets away with it. And the mother may even know about it, or other women in the family know about it, but they are so afraid to bring it forth, to complain to somebody else, to take it to the church, for Christ's sake. So this crime is so terrible because it dehumanizes the girl child. I know men are also raped, young boys are also raped, but I'm focusing right now mostly on women. These young women, they grow and they don't have that self-worth we are talking about to grow into fulfilling people in communities, in society. They are damaged. They feel damaged. But we're saying that if you've been a victim of rape, there are outlets out there to report. If you go to the authority and you don't succeed, go to church, go to the men of God, and report the case to them. Somebody will hear you eventually. Don't be a victim and stay silent. I am also very upset with the recent incident that happened in Bali that we just heard about recently, where La Republic military is going into neighborhoods and taking 15 years old, 14 years old, and other women and raping them intentionally over and over again, and they make it so publicly known. We hope the international committee does something about it. We hope the government of Cameroon does something about it, because if they are silent, then they are condoning those actions by their own military that they send in our territory. I'll not take too long, since I know that the two of you want to say something about the topic. I'll end here for now. Thank you so much.
Okay. Um, okay, Dr. Yaya, as we are diving into this topic um, of women and girls in relation to rape. So, what's your own take of it?
Yeah, I think Mape summed it so well. Um, I haven't really got much to add. But again, I mean, anyone who has experienced physical or even mental, psychological abuse, but let's even keep it at physical, because rape is also physical, even though it has a huge psychological, aftermath. You feel ashamed. I mean, even as a victim, you feel ashamed because you find it difficult to comprehend how you could be actually disregarded and disrespected to that level. Think about it. I'm just talking about general physical abuse. And then rape, which is actually abusing you physically, but in your most intimate sphere. So that just takes away, um, your dignity. And like, there's no better word to use than say damaged. The difficulty, I mean, and this is a global problem. It is not only in our setups or African setups or some cultural setups that secrecy is a big deal. Um, and the intention is to keep the family together. No, you cannot bring this out because it's going to break the family. That you are keeping the family together and breaking one human being who has a lineage that would follow her, and you don't know how many generations have been destroyed by destroying this one person. And by keeping it a secret, this person will never have the chance to be heard and will never ever be healed. Because we can see in these societies, we have people who are now talking about these things. Through that, they are empowering themselves. Again, they are healing, and they are also helping other victims. We have big stars in, Oprah Winfrey is one of them, Gabrielle Union. They talk about these things openly. So this is where we have a lot of work to do. We must break these barriers. And of course, it is not the child or the girl that has been victimized who can do this, because even your own mother or aunt or close family member who should be protecting you is one of those telling you to hush. So the only way to help this is by putting in the right legislature. We should have laws in place that should be implemented regardless of your stature. You'll be surprised. This There was a scandal in the Australian military. I think that was about 2 years ago, where some of the military men raped their female colleagues. While they were at war in one of the countries. I don't know if it was Afghanistan or something like that. And yeah, it was a disgrace. But think about it. It is not something that is limited to a particular culture. But the difference is that we are in a society, especially here in the West, where we have whistleblowers, and we should learn to have those whistleblowers. Victims of whatever form of abuse should speak up. I'm not saying you must hold a microphone and go on Facebook, and you can speak in any context that you feel comfortable, whether it's within your family. If you have a family meeting, you say it. You say it. You might have some whips, but trust me, you might just be the person, that sacrificial lamb,
Strict
who is
orders.
going to take the pain,
Yes.
but you're
Strict
opening
orders.
the path to something, some wrongs to be made right, you know. And Mape, you're talking about the church, which is a good outlet to go. But trust me, also sometimes even in the church, these things are meant to be hushed.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we have to see it as a societal problem. It is something that has to do with humanity. Of course, the church has some ethical standards, or expected to have, more than the secular world. But the important thing is that we have laws in place that will be implemented. I mean, just think about this recent case of the IDP, the 15-year-old girl. I think God bless her soul. I think her name was Delphine Berignon, who was raped by a man that you will see on the street and think, oh my God, the way this guy looks, this is a responsible man. Can you believe that? This is a man who can stand, he can hire all the prostitutes in Yaoundé. Why would you rape a poor 15-year-old child to the point of this girl,
It's a
finally losing
demonic
her
thing.
life? Exactly. So we should, these things are, there are lots of cliches. We look at people and look at positions, and you say, oh no, it is the rascals in the cartier, or, it has nothing to do with that. In fact, men in power tend to actually abuse even more. Another common
Yeah.
case is even in the universities, in training
Mm-hmm.
schools or whatever. Girls have to, or are kind of forced to actually go out with
Come to
men
us.
or have sex with them, for them to pass their exams or actually move to the next class. That was a common thing in Guaquile. We heard them, and even in University of Boya. So um, Mape, you actually classify those the crimes in the different setups. I think there's nothing else, nothing more to say than to say that we should have the laws, and we should talk about these things so often and be able to name
Mm-hmm.
and shame. Even if it's your brother and commits that crime, you have to be able to name and shame, and that way the next person will know that, oh my God, oh, my name might just come out, so I better be careful. Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yaya. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, you really, our Pastor Victor, I'll just, few minutes for as well to just throw your thoughts on it, why Mape would round up on this aspect, and as we'll would give our final remarks for close of the day. And this is why, Dr. Yaya said, I said, we probably require a part two of this program to really delve into creating awareness, understanding, and especially strategies or avenues for where victims can seek help, or avenues where those who perpetrators of rape can be named and shamed. And
Yeah.
because we know in certain societies there are no laws that will can really bind these people, but if with the power of social media, we know what social media have changed in recent time. Some people wouldn't want to be publicized or tagged with such heinous crime, so they would probably straighten up, or it might save one or two people from being raped. So Pastor Victor, over to you with your thoughts on this aspect. Thank you.
Well, thank God that it's not a too much spiritual prayer. I would have said, let me end up that prayer, but let me just go so that we don't have to labor more about that. But I want to say that it's a very, very huge crime, and I really, really, really frown against this, and stand with every voice that has spoken against that. It is not allowed, because it's one of those things that destroy the image of a child as they grow up. When once such a thing has been put on their life, I've had to do counseling with young kids who grow up to come to an age of marriage, and they say they're not going to get married. And when I went into details to know why, and it goes back to a case of rape that they once had while growing up. as a child or as a teenage girl. And this is not even something that was done by far people or people from afar, but family members. And this made them to feel like there's no reason to even get married. My virginity was taken by my own family members, and ironically, sometimes when this thing happen, like Mape put it, it's difficult for them to voice it. And when they cannot voice it, there's no way they can be helped. And because they feel that when I say that I become the victim of reporting Uncle A or Uncle B, the chain continues. Meanwhile, if in fact, let me say categorically clear here that if you are listening to us in home front and around the world and you are a victim of this, please say it out, because this thing is the spirit. It's a demonic spirit that if you don't stand up against it, it will go through the generations. You see an old uncle that abuse sisters or children in the family down the line. And so you have to speak it out so that you put an end to it. You may be looked as a bad girl, but I bet you would have saved your dear sisters or some members of the family that are going to come up. Or you would have saved that individual from embarrassment when that happened with a stranger out there. Because this thing, as we see it very bad, sometimes this thing is being controlled by a satanic kingdom. People are engineered, demonic forces really cause people to do these things. And some of them, it come out of their real minds. They set out to do this. It's like the woman caught in adultery in the Bible days. The Bible says women are, when they were caught, only the woman was brought to Christ. So the question is, where is the man? A woman never commits adultery or fornication alone. So where is the man? So the woman became the victim because, like we're rightly saying here, it became like she was marginalized against, or she was looked down for again, and then they took her and said she was caught in adultery and were with their stones willing to stone her. And Jesus began to write on it and said, okay, if any of you is without sin, cast the first stone. And all of them dropped their stones and ran away because they were all guilty. And so we're saying this to say that don't be that victim that does not speak it out, because every other person that you look them and like I was echoing that even the churches, we don't want to call name of denominations here, but we know that it is even we just praying for some of our denomination, because some of the things that are happening now are way beyond what we could even expect from church people. And so these things are happening right even in the church, and we pray that people should really get help. If you cannot get help from a natural counselor, get help from a spiritual counselor, and I bet you will be delivered, and you will have exposed something that could have gone down the generations, and that can help end it there. That is the little I can say on that, and we frown against it and really say that it's not something to condone with. And I know we have just spoken rape here, looking at the big name rape as though even forcing your wife at home without her consent is equally rape. I'm going to say that as a man here. And as a clergy, we've solved many marital problems, my beloved. And one of those things that people will hardly open up to tell you is the abuse they go through in their homes. Either the man abusing the wife abusing men, because also the wife abuse their men. So because of this, it takes the grace of God for you to cut through, for a man or a woman to open up and say, this is where we really have it. They will come and tell you, I don't eat well, it doesn't give me enough money. They go around the bush. The real thing is that issue, and they don't resolve it. Yet you have to use your own discretion to ask, how is this aspect in your home? By the time you reach there, you see everyone don't go silent there, you really hitting on the right thing. Before you discover that, they open up and start speaking about it. So it is something that is right even in marriages, and we don't encourage that. If your partner doesn't feel like, please, nobody's in that mood every day. Give her the break, give him the break, and be able to pray that everybody be in the mood. We are not doing marriage counseling, otherwise I would have one more to tell. How to their spouse for the evening. You don't just come boom. You just went that. That's abuse. Still, that is rape somehow. But we do more on the big one, and we want to please
Oh, Pastor Vic.
our young girls be cautious, dress also well, show yourself in a way that you will not be an attraction of this kind of things. Thank you so much, and God bless you
Thank
all.
you. Yeah, thank you. I mean, Pastor Victor has really brought it to the simple aspect of, this one that is not really much talked about, the one that happen
Mm,
within marriages. And that's an addition
yes.
to all the points that Mape and Dr. Patience, excuse me, have listed earlier. I mean, this topic, I think, Dr. Patience, I think in one of the women's program, we need to really talk a bit more about it, considering that
Right.
we know, I don't know how involved you are with the refugees. The stories I have heard there, they are not anything to write home about in terms of
Right.
how those young women within the refugee camp have been raped. And you see a
Mhm.
12-year-old, 13-year-old pregnant, and the effect of their stories are really horror stories. Mape, I will just come to you while you throw your own 2 cents on this topic, and also just give your final remark as we would now go round and round up for the show for tonight. Thank you, Mape.
Yeah, thank you, Lady K. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity. For me, I just want to concentrate only on the effect of rape by in the war areas, more about our own situation in Ambazonia. And it's hard when you picture this a 17-year-old girl, a young mother that it brought daylight and raped by the people. It's like an organized thing. She's directed to another person who is there ready, you know, to rape her, even though she pleaded and explained that she was a young mother. They didn't have any pity on her. So I just want to focus more on the effect of rape on women in situations like that. What goes through the good thing is she was bold enough to actually tell people, and you could get the reaction of people. Some they didn't know how to console her, they didn't know what to say, but the fact that she said it out, that was already the beginning of a healing process for her. She might not be healed for years, but it's already the beginning of a healing process for her.
Mm,
But what are the effects? First of all, we don't know what the person who raped her had. He might have been HIV positive. He might have transmitted whatever sexually transmitted disease to her. She could actually be pregnant again. And what happens to that child? How does she bring up an unwanted child
Yeah.
in an environment like that? How we've had situation where you see a mother bringing up a child just hates that child, but until you go deep down into the history of why that mother doesn't like a child, before you probably understand why she would not want anything to do with the child, because she probably still hates herself, and there's no way she'll be someone who doesn't have love cannot give love. She doesn't love herself, so she won't be able to pass on the love that that child needed. So you see a child growing up in an environment that lacks any care or love for that child, because the mother is unable to give that child the love that the child deserves. So I wonder how, you know, things, uh, cases like that can actually be brought to justice, what the society can do more to make sure that people like that don't get away with those things free. How can that community mobilize more to shame these perpetrators of the evil act that they are committing. So there's a lot that goes on in maybe the life of a woman or a girl who has been raped, particularly by someone you don't know, and you end up with a child that you probably don't know the father. You've seen that person, it's like a flash. You probably didn't even see the person's face because you raped under a situation where you're so frightened, you don't even have the courage to look at the person's face. You have a child, you don't know the father of the child. That child is an unwanted child to you because you don't have the love for yourself, and not to talk of giving love to that child. So it's a situation where maybe I want even our own people back home, particularly those who have the powers, who think that they can just go about and do things like that and rape your women and young girls, to think twice the effect of their actions on that particular individual or on the family itself, because it's not that only that child who is going through difficulties. As a mother, if your child comes and tells you that I've been raped, what will you do? What will be your reaction? You probably get angry also because maybe there's nothing you can do. Who do you report to? I don't think that making laws in this case will help that situation, because who is there to enforce the law? The very people who are there to make sure that criminals are brought to justice are the very ones committing those very acts. Who is there
Right.
to give justice to that young woman, or to a woman who has been raped in an environment like that? So it's really heartbreaking when you know that as a mother and you see your child going through that pain, you cannot help the child, and there is no one that you can turn to. So maybe it's something that we really need to think about, how the society can maybe work more to fight people who carry out such heinous crimes on the young girls and women. I
Wow,
think that's
thank
well.
you so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
sorry,
very
sorry.
much.
Can I just finish? It just come to my
Okay.
mind, and when I said that, I just think of some brief actions that maybe people can take or women can take. For example, our patients did mention this one before. The lady in Kumba whose only child was killed, and she was brave enough to stand up and say objection in front of Atanganji. You can imagine how frozen he was to be challenged in that type of manner. And also we see how the women back home, particularly the ones I think in Ekona, they were able to put themselves together and march to Buya. And you see how the men reacted to that act of, it was like a challenge that they took up. So sometimes maybe we can encourage particularly our women to always try and work together to defend their own, because we've seen how women standing up for a particular purpose does yield some result. And I know we still have maybe young boys who've been arrested or picked up in Kumba. We need to call on mothers or women, whether you are the mother of that child or not, to rise up and make sure that you protect your children, because you brought them into the world. It's only you who can maybe do something to make a change in their lives. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. And as we, round up the show, which has been such a great show, I would like to thank everyone for joining today. And I don't know if anyone have any final thing to say for roundup. Anyone have anything to add, or any final remarks that they want to make as we close for the night.
Okay, let me just say that
Yes.
Okay. I just want to appreciate the entire program, and I believe even as we echo some of these things, and we know that we're empowering our people. We want to also say that it will take our people standing up for their rights. We
Mhm.
is what we're doing here is like a teacher teaching in class. It will take the effort of that child to study to make up in that exam. So we've spoken, but it will take that initiative of every family in the area of education. It will take that effort of every young girl or every person that has been abused to stand up for their rights and know that it's not the normal. Some people have gone through it and it becomes like the normal. No, it's not the normal. Something is wrong somewhere. And please, if you are also a man, you are out there and you see this act um, um, coming up in your mind always, you need help. You can also seek for help. You were not born to come and be a ruthless human being like that, abusing women left and right. If you really hate that act enough, you can seek for counseling and seek for help. And so we're not trying to bring some condemnation on anybody here, but trying to tell you that it's a bad thing to live in that level and that you can be helped and maybe some of you need but prayer because some of these things could even be things that you inherited from some of your forefathers and it migrated to you also. Uh, you can also seek help from a spiritual counselor that will pray for you and deliver you from that spirit because there are just some men like that. They don't want to see anything in skirt pass around them. Ask yourself, why am I like this? Is this how God created me? Am I normal? And when you begin to ask those mind searching questions, you will also get help. Don't take it as though you are the hot guy or because what you are doing is illegal. That's why you do it in hiding. You're not doing some legal act or something that is good. So as we speak these things, you can seek for help, and I believe you, the Lord can make a way for you to be helped out of that situation. And for our young girls
Thank
and our
you.
young boys, be strong, even if you've been through an abuse, be strong and know that there's still life ahead, in spite of the abuse you went through. Joyce Meyer, just to end with this, Joyce Meyer is a household name preacher in America here, a woman preacher, and all her preaching based on what the father did to her. Oh, my father left me, blah, blah, blah. And she's bold to say it and uses that to deliver other people. So please don't be shy to, in fact, in America, a crisis in your life become a stepping stone for your breakthrough, become a stepping stone for you to become renowned. She
Mhm.
has become a household name because of that testimony, and she does it passionately to help others, and that's what has made her a living. So turn your crisis, turn any situation, a misfortune into fortune, and make a book. Write a book for what you've been through, and let that become something that you use to deliver yourself out of. Thank you so much, and
Th-
God bless you all for the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Yaya.
Thank you so much, Lady Casey, for a great moderation, and thank you, all wonderful panelists with great ideas. It's just been a very enriching discussion, and I think we really need a part two, and why not three? Just to conclude on a few things, I love what Pastor Victor said. What we're doing here is not pointing fingers at a specific subgroup or particularly saying, trying to condemn men. When we talk about equality or well, I don't even want to use the word emancipation. Equality, yes, it does not equate to disrespect as partners in any form of relationship, whether it is your work relationship, whether it is business, whether it is marriage, whether it is mother and child, parent and child, there needs to be mutual respect. What we are saying is, and we're not just talking to the men, because a lot of us as women, we are also vehicles of this abuse, because we actually also have absorbed and acknowledged what the society has imposed on us. So in a nutshell, we are educating ourselves to become more knowledgeable and to become free human beings. Being free and powerful does not equate to being, disrespectful towards your spouse. So we have to kind of differentiate that. So some people are very sensitive when they hear the word equality. They think it means, oh yes, I want to be the man in the house. Not necessarily. If you are a man, you should be comfortable in your skin. You should be, you should be confident, and you should be compassionate to the point where you can embrace and actually give space for your spouse to actually grow and be the best version of herself, and vice versa. So it is not an attack on men. Number two, I think Mape Akemche touched something. I mean, probably pulled us emotionally really down. And I was thinking, what can we really do? She made a very good point. Laws alone are not enough, particularly in the context of war right now. So maybe what we can be, I mean, laws come when we have a democratic state where there's the rule of law. But now we know that we're in a jungle situation. But what our people can do, not only back home, also in the diaspora, is to also use our communities, social groups to educate ourselves. We're folk, we go to church, which is good. We go for jangis and all those social gatherings, which are good. Maybe we should use these groups to be talking. We may have women's groups, we have men's group. We just bring up these topics and educate ourselves, because if we don't have that basic education, or first of all, making it known, you'll be surprised. Some people who actually are violent, they think is their right. They really believe that this is my right because I grew up seeing my father do this. So why not? A woman can be slapped. So we need to do that basic background education. And talking about what we can do, particularly on issues like the group rapes in the context of war, I think we've done a good job to even educate ourselves. But what we need maybe is to get outsiders. Maybe we need to start reaching out to this. We need to do more advocacy, not only within the struggle, but cases like this. Maybe we should give ourselves the task to actually document them down, put them in writing, and actually reach out to groups like Human Rights Watch, or NGOs that are interested in women's rights, and make sure that, or war crimes, whatever, that these things are actually made public, and give interviews on public arena. We've seen our president moving outside the sphere of just talking to us in our Zoom meetings and reaching out through ABC. So, and those of us who have channels, we can reach out to community radios and start to talk about these things. It might just be another way to reach out to the world. Thank you so much once again. It was a pleasure being with you.
Thank you, Dr. Yaya. That was a very nice solution-oriented closing remark. Okay, Mape, Dr. Patient, sorry, as a organizer of this show, and the sexual state for women services, I would just like you to, you know, crown this evening with your comments. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I want to start by thanking you, Lady Casey, for hosting this session. And thank you, all the panelists, Mape, my namesake, Dr. Yaya, and Pastor Victor. I'm so grateful I called you today and you were able to make it to the
Wonderful.
show. Thank you so much. You made all the difference. And we've really had a very exciting program. And just one thing that I want to say, in line of what Paddy said, that we are not saying that men are equal to women. I think Dr. Yaya has already echoed that. We just want some sort of equity. I look at the meaning of equity. Equity means the quality of being fair and impartial. We just want women to have the same opportunities as men, and so that they can be the best that they can be. We want women to build their own self-worthiness. When you have that self-worthiness, you can go anywhere. And of course, we are at war. We understand we are at war. We understand we don't have very concrete rules or laws to be able to punish some of these uh, people that are perpetuating these crimes against us. But we should remember who they are. Keep a tag, keep a record of what it is. Maybe eventually the government can have a hotline to report some of these cases, so that we keep track of all these
Yeah.
cases. A hotline may be
Mm-hmm.
a way to
Definitely.
eventually, because there are so many of them, so many of these cases happening. So as we conclude today, we just want people to know that International Women's Day started in 1910 with this lady called Clara Zetkin. And through
Sure.
from 1910 to now, women's life have gotten better and better, but there's still a long way to go. And we want to thank you all as we continue to fight for a better world where women have the same privileges and rights like men. Thank you so much. We say, long live the Federal Republic of Amazonia, short live the struggle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all
Yeah.
our viewers
Thank you.
for participating.
Beautiful.
We want to thank our viewers and those who have been watching us on Facebook and on the on Homefront, on TV, and on the website. We want to thank all of you for joining. And if you are watching this show again when it's rebroadcasted, I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll look forward to having more discussion around this subject, especially our women and girls in home fronts and in this war era. Thank you all for joining. Have a good night. Bye bye.
Fellow Amazonians, join me as I wish Happy Women's Day to the strong woman for Amazonia, the strong woman of Amazonia. Congratulations. They think about our no-nonsense women where they did for a corner, where they show we like mother chicken, we get a small fowl, mammy fowl, then decide say better make that hawk, it can't kill all we, because this injustice must end. When I put on a life for line, when I decide for waka 10-15 kilometers, only for make sure say when I begin to be free from the hands of these wicked hawks of La Republique. I want to take this moment for congratulate one. I want to congratulate the women them for Bamenda. Yes, for the many times when they stand up for our right, when they stand up for protest, because when I get the right at least to cry, the right say make people they hear with a voice, and this one a human right, because now when I be the champions of human rights in Amazonia. Thank una. I thank the woman them for matter, because when I be she don't quiet. When I be she don't quiet, when I cry out for my children before someone they come back alive. I thank all the women them for refugee camp. Even though you don't get nothing, but even in that state, you still be the breadwinner. You still be the provider. You still feed Amazonia. You still survive. You still pass the message of hope to your children. We're so proud of you. I want to think of all the mama them where now when they bury our own, bury pikin and bury papa, bury husband. I want to thank una. Amazonia no go forget the woman where you be. You no go forget your resilience. You no go forget your sacrifice. We be so proud of you. History go remember the woman of Amazonia. When I prefer for share the small one where you get them with the picking them, because it's no day than for you for chop sleep, wake up the next day. I want to thank una. I thank all the mothers of Amazonia who will not get no place for go, even if it means for go remain for inside bush to stay alive, so that the hope of Amazonia it will remain alive. I want first finally congratulate all the great strong women from Amazonia, or your husband or your pikin, it dey now for prison. So one don't disappear when I don't know who's where they, but when I never give up, when I still day, when I still get the hope, when I still continue to stand and support the struggle. Thank you for those who did the support from behind. So on the way the day the day underground, the one the way they get the opportunity for do them openly. I really congratulate them. Gonna be the heroes of our motherland. God bless you and God bless Ambazonia.
Nakupenda malaika, ningekuoa maliwe, ningekuoa dada, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa pesa zasumbua roho yangu, pesa zasumbua roho yangu, nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Kidege hukuwaza kidege, kidege hukuwaza kidege, nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Malaika, nakupenda malaika, malaika, nakupenda malaika, ningekuoa maliwe, ningekuoa dada, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika.
Every year on the 8th of March, International Women's Day is celebrated across the globe. It's a day to recognise female achievement and a call to action, encouraging everyone to stand up for women's rights and gender equality. Gender equality means no matter your gender, you're granted the same rights, privileges and access to opportunities as everyone else. You may be thinking, why is this day so important? Throughout history, women have had to fight for the freedom and rights we enjoy today. 150 years ago, women couldn't vote, stand in parliament, receive proper medical attention, own property, access fair legal support, get paid the same as men, visit the same public areas as men, get a proper education. The list goes on. 150 years ago, people lived in a very different world to what we know now. So how did things change? Someone didn't snap their fingers and then bam, women had all the rights. Change occurred gradually through the tireless efforts of brave women and men fighting together for what is right. Let's rewind. In the late 19th century, the fight for women's suffrage began gaining momentum. Suffrage means the right to vote, and at this time, only men could do so. This meant that all the political decisions were decided by men, including those that only affected women. As time passed, some women grew increasingly frustrated by the lack of progress and failed attempts to achieve suffrage. One of these women was Emmeline Pankhurst, who responded by forming the Women's Social and Political Union in 1903, which encouraged a stronger kind of activism. This led to years of protests, rallies and strikes, with women being arrested, jailed, injured, and some even losing their lives in the fight for suffrage. When the First World War was declared in 1914, suffragettes shifted their campaign to encourage women's involvement in the war effort. The devastation of war brought the nation together in support of one another, and attitudes began to change. Women took on responsibilities and jobs that they were previously excluded from, like working as mechanics and drivers. In 1918, the Representation of the People Bill was passed, giving women the right to vote. However, it was only some women of a certain age and circumstance. It wasn't until 1928 that all women over 21 were finally allowed to vote. The right to vote is instrumental in creating a society that is fair and just. Imagine if all the UK were one gigantic football team. Half of the team can play exactly as they are, while the other is blindfolded. The team probably isn't going to do so great. The same goes for a society. If everyone has the same rights and freedoms, a society can grow and develop in a way that benefits everyone. Once women were able to vote, the ball began rolling on other rights, like political representation, access to greater opportunities, fairer pay, and working rights. As you can see, change takes time. It wasn't until 1979 that Britain had its first female Prime Minister, which was 76 years after Emmeline Pankhurst first established the Women's Social and Political Union. So what does gender equality look like today? We are fortunate to live in a time and place where incredible opportunities are in abundance. Everyone can get an education, access healthcare, get a job, and speak their minds. However, we still have some work to do before we reach equality for all. One way that gender inequality plays out in our everyday life is through stereotypes. A stereotype is a generalised opinion of a person or group of people. Ever heard someone say something like, "You throw like a girl," or "boys don't cry"? These kinds of phrases exist because of centuries of restrictive ideas about gender that really aren't true or fair. People are way too unique and complex to fit neatly in a box. Girls and boys can be athletic, fast and strong. And of course, everyone cries. It's normal and healthy to express your feelings and to be vulnerable. Stereotypes can be really damaging and can prevent you from being yourself and reaching your potential. Today, women are still the minority in Parliament, leadership roles and career fields like science and engineering, as well as making less money than men on average. So, this International Women's Day, think about what you could do to help in the fight for equality. Everyone benefits when we are all treated equally. Why not celebrate the amazing achievements of women you admire? Especially now you know just what it took to get there.
It is okay to be so stressed and overwhelmed that you feel like you need to talk to someone about it. And by that, I mean going to therapy. Lately, the transition from college into post-grad and working full-time and adulting has been really stressful. It's a lot of change. And so I've been using BetterHelp to help guide me through this huge transitional time in my life, and I've been loving it. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with a professional, licensed therapist in as little as 48 hours from signing up. The therapist I've been talking to specializes in work-life balance, stress, overwhelm, and self-care, so it was the perfect match for me. I also wanted a Christian therapist, so when I was signing up, I was able to select and search for Christian therapists just so we could have that same background and that same foundation. The service is available to clients worldwide, and you can log in and send a message to your therapist at any time. You'll get a thoughtful and timely response, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room like with traditional therapy. And BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to switch therapists anytime if needed. So I highly encourage you all to check out BetterHelp if you're interested and start your therapy journey today.
Where's the poop? Seriously, if someone's colon is clogged and they have constipation and it's been 2, 3, or even 10 days without relief, where does it all go? The consequences can be serious. Heck, Elvis died from constipation and not a heart attack as previously believed. According to his longtime friend and personal physician, Dr. George Nikopoulos,
Fellow Amazonians, join me as I wish Happy Women's Day to the strong woman